Keir Starmer's decisive action after receiving over 3 million signatures demanding a new election may backfire severely. His support has rapidly collapsed, and the cracks in his leadership are becoming increasingly apparent. From unfulfilled promises to failed policies, his leadership is gradually disintegrating, raising questions about whether he can continue to lead the Labour Party and whether the party can regain voters' trust. This is not just an ordinary political misstep, but a crisis that could reshape the political future of the UK in a dire direction. Stay tuned for the answer. Recently, when asked whether he would resign if he lost the next election, particularly in the event of a significant defeat, Starmer replied succinctly, "Yes." This frank admission has sparked debates and speculation about his future as a leader amid the changing political landscape surrounding him. Starmer's leadership has unravelled in ways few could have anticipated, not merely due to policy or strategic failures, but through a crisis that threatens both the Labour Party and potentially the nation. His approval rating has plummeted to a record low of just 39%, a disastrous collapse for someone who once promised to restore the Labour Party's credibility and lead it out of political obscurity. The numbers do not lie. He appears to be a leader incapable of earning public trust, let alone their votes. So why has his leadership turned so toxic so quickly? The answer lies in a string of broken promises, each causing greater damage than the last. During his campaign, Starmer pledged to bring the Labour Party back to its core values: robust social policies, progressive reforms, and a commitment to fairness. He passionately advocated for abolishing tuition fees, prioritising working families, and revitalising public services. However, these promises have since been reduced to mere rhetoric, with the most glaring betrayal being his reversal on tuition fees. Starmer's commitment to abolishing tuition fees was a cornerstone of his campaign, winning support from young voters concerned about student debt. Yet, once in power, he abandoned this promise, citing financial constraints, sparking backlash with protests from London to Manchester, where students branded him a fraud. This betrayal not only alienated young voters, but also exposed weaknesses in his leadership, with ambitious promises now seen as unfulfilled commitments, leaving Labour's traditional base feeling abandoned. The anger does not stop there. Other key promises from Starmer, including boosting investment in public healthcare and social welfare, have been watered down in a bid to appeal to centrist voters. This move has left early supporters feeling betrayed by the very policies they once believed in. Working-class communities in the North and Midlands, which once formed the backbone of Labour's power during its glory days, are now turning away from the party. Reports of limited outreach, depleted resources, and lacklustre messaging in these regions have exacerbated the problem. Labour seems absent in places where its presence should be strongest, and voters have noticed. Adding to the dissatisfaction is the cost of living crisis, a pressing and obvious issue that Labour should have seized as an opportunity to shine. However, Starmer's response has been lacklustre, fragmented, and uninspired. Millions of families are struggling with soaring energy bills, unaffordable housing, and rising food costs, while Labour has failed to propose any groundbreaking solutions. Where are the bold policies? Where is the leadership? While Rishi Sunak's government has at least introduced emergency measures to alleviate financial pressures, Starmer's proposals remain vague. Critics argue that his rhetoric does not match the scale of the crisis. A mother in Liverpool summed up the frustration: "We are just getting by, while Starmer's Labour seems more focused on preparing for elections than actually helping us." Even Labour's tax policies have provoked outrage. Starmer's proposal to increase inheritance tax as a means to fund essential public services was met with swift backlash from rural communities. Family farms in areas like Norfolk and Yorkshire now face existential threats, with farmers fearing they may have to sell land that has been in their families for generations just to cover the higher taxes. One farmer lamented, "Labour's policies will destroy us." For a party once proud to champion the underdog, this represents a staggering betrayal. The situation within the Labour Party is no better, as Starmer has not only lost the support of voters, but also key figures within his own party. Senior MPs have criticised him for lacking vision and running the party like a business rather than a movement. Grassroots activists, once the party's lifeblood, now feel disillusioned, describing Starmer's leadership as cold, detached and uninspiring. Labour is deeply divided, with infighting between the left and centrist factions. Figures like John McDonnell have condemned Starmer's betrayal of the party's founding principles, while others argue his repositioning has stripped Labour of its identity. The result is a fragmented and weakened party, incapable of projecting unity or strength on the global stage. Starmer's leadership on Brexit has been no better. Once a staunch advocate for remaining in the EU, he now adopts an ambiguous stance, trying to appeal to both the left and right, leaving voters confused and frustrated, particularly in Labour's traditional heartlands. Many feel betrayed by what they perceive as Starmer's lack of clarity and decisiveness. His handling of the Ukraine crisis and other global issues has also been criticised as reactive and shallow, offering little substance to back up his lofty statements. The Labour Party faces a crisis of trust due to scandals within the party, from allegations of misconduct to financial issues. Controversies such as Fiona Onasanya's resignation following a perjury conviction have shattered Starmer's pledge to restore integrity to the party. His weak response to scandals has further fueled criticism. A petition calling for a general election has garnered millions of signatures, reflecting voter dissatisfaction. Starmer's leadership now stands at a critical crossroads: adapt to the pressing issues of the nation or face failure and the risk of collapse. 4-0. But that's not all the worst of it. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will leave you astonished. From unfulfilled promises to shocking revelations, Starmer's leadership of the Labour Party has taken a direction no one anticipated. This isn't just political drama, it's a crisis that could shape the future of the United Kingdom in ways we have yet to foresee. I believe the security and safety of our communities should be the top priority, Starmer once stated. He emphasised that anyone involved in disruptive actions must understand that the law would be fully enforced. However, cracks began to show as Starmer's grand promises started to crumble. Starmer pledged to bring the Labour Party back to its roots, focusing on strong social policies, progressive reforms, and a fairer society for all. Yet, as time went on, the failure to deliver on these promises and his constant policy shifts left many voters feeling betrayed. This disappointment was further exacerbated by Starmer's failure to stand up for working-class voters, the heart of the party. The party's efforts to reconnect with traditional working-class areas in the North and the Midlands, which once propelled Labour to power, have faltered. Reports highlight a lack of resources and poor outreach, leaving many in these regions feeling abandoned. Starmer's recent handling of disruptive actions has also come under criticism. Just days ago, several individuals were convicted of serious offences, sending a strong message to those considering engaging in unrest. However, the bigger picture shows that many young people, particularly those who voted for Starmer with hopes of change, are now questioning his sincerity and leadership capabilities. One of the most striking betrayals during his campaign was his shift in stance on tuition fees. Meanwhile, the cost of living crisis in the UK continues to escalate, with soaring energy bills and rising food prices. Starmer's response has been tepid, offering vague and disjointed plans that fail to alleviate the pressure on struggling families. In contrast, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has implemented emergency measures to support those in need, while Labour's proposals seem out of touch with the urgency of the situation. As a result, a petition calling for a general election has garnered over 3.4 million signatures, reflecting growing frustration with Labour's unfulfilled promises and its failure to act on key issues. Starmer's leadership ratings are plummeting, with many questioning whether Labour can be trusted to address the country's challenges. A recent survey recorded Starmer's leadership approval at -32%, a figure reminiscent of a political crisis. Despite promises to take back control, issues like illegal immigration and weak economic management remain unresolved. Critics argue that Labour's economic strategy is failing, with low growth rates and no clear plan to address the financial pressures facing many citizens. Simultaneously, the petition for a general election continues to gain momentum, as many feel that Labour under Starmer's leadership has lost touch with the realities of working-class families, prioritising political strategies over genuine solutions. Starmer has recently sparked controversy by proposing increases in inheritance taxes and taxes on the wealthy to fund essential public services. While this idea aims to appeal to voters seeking social fairness, it has failed to gain widespread support, especially in rural communities where concerns over high taxes are particularly pronounced. With internal turmoil within the party and growing calls for change, the upcoming general election will be a defining moment for Labour. Can Starmer regain the trust of voters, or has the future of the Labour Party under his leadership been put in jeopardy? Let us know your thoughts on this topic by commenting below this video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates from across the country. Thank you and see you next time.